Holition is a relatively young startup, about 4 or 5 years old. But we're very, very sort of interested in not so much the technology, but the use that brands put them to. So we're technology agnostic, and the types of technology that we do are augmented reality, we do holograms, we do 3D applications, we do touch surfaces, and we just explore the role of technology and offer up solutions to some of the best known brands in the world, the retail brands, particularly in the luxury and the premium retail industry, and I guess give them sort of additional arrows in their quiver to talk to this new digital emerging consumer. And I think what's very interesting for us, and where this project comes in, is that we're very, very strongly of the view that while there are many in the industry who say they understand this world particularly well, because it's changing and evolving the whole time, no one really understands it particularly well. And so everybody, from brands to consumers to agencies such as ourselves, we're all on this extraordinary journey of trying to work out how to use some of these tools, some of which are very beautiful, but some of which are very kind of more rational and slightly awkward, mobile phones being kind of one of them. So whereas some of the other challenges in this sort of retail space are quite niche and really pushing into one specific need of an organisation, we're sort of more interested in probably stepping back a bit and looking at a more macro view. So the challenge that we're talking about is when I say it's in two halves, it's not one and the other, but there are two potential things to look at. The future of retail is such a huge topic, we've had to draw it in a little bit. But the first bit is about this notion that with this amazing phrase omnichannel, it's bandied about the whole time, and some of us have no idea really what it means quite yet. I think the jury's still out. But what it certainly does mean is that there's a lot more pressure on what the role of a physical retail store will be in this new world, and there are people talking about the blight of retail and empty shops. So it's clear to me anyway, in a very sort of humble view, that the retail's got to reinvent itself in order to kind of justify its role in this triumvirate of mobile, sort of online and physical store. So the first bit of this challenge is to explore that in a little bit of detail, but in its broadest possible sense. So I'm looking for ideas that could be in visual merchandising, they could be windows, they could be to do with sound or holograms or scent. I'm not really too fussed. I don't really want to draw the strings in too sort of tightly at the moment. I want people to kind of experiment and explore. But ultimately, when we've done this piece of work, we want to be able to step back and look at it and go, this is an amazing installation or amazing thing, quote unquote, in a shop. So I have this particular bugbear about brands that try and retrofit technology into their stores. So, big kind of screens or kiosks just put into a space. So I'm interested in exploring the wealth of data that exists online, and that could be anything that appears on a brand's website or on their merchandising. I'm not interested so much in kind of what it is, just understanding that there is a wealth of information that exists on a partner's website, and then how do we bring that into store so that it's useful for a person, but without putting it on a screen or making it available in a mobile in a kind of really obvious way. It needs to be intuitive, it needs to be part of the fabric of the shop, and critically from my point of view, it needs to be very easy to access and easy to understand. I'm very happy to play around on a website, go in the wrong pages, come back, find my way around, get lost, and because it's kind of one-to-one. But I don't necessarily want to do that in front of a crowd of shoppers on Regent Street or in Bond Street. So how do we kind of get around that problem to give people the information that they need to make an informed decision, but not in a way that's kind of obvious and tech. So those are the two halves of the challenges. In terms of sort of other things to think about, and I think you would have got this perhaps loud and clear from this, but for us, the most important thing is about creativity. So it needs to feel on brand from a strategy point of view and beautiful from a creative point of view. I don't want to see the tech, I don't want to understand it, I want it hidden away, I just want a great user experience. So that's really important. And in terms of why we would look at the people who might respond to this challenge and not go to an established agency, we work with some of the world's sort of best known brands, and they work off decades, sometimes even centuries of history and heritage, and many of them are understandably very reticent to take risks. And therefore the ideas are a series of very small pigeon steps which absolutely are leading in the right direction, but you know, very, very carefully made. And I think what's great about this opportunity is for somebody to, you know, without the sort of notion of risk or the adversity to sort of risk, you know, some of these brands have, can take a real giant leap. And what we will do in return is reward those giant leaps with, by selecting a brand that's absolutely right for it. We will find the idea, we will nurture that idea, and then once that idea has got to a prototype stage, we'll be able to really understand exactly the right brand for it. And I think potentially that's where we come in.